What is going on out there, YouTube? John the Laser Blue Junkie coming back at you for the second time today. And this time we are finally going to do another Spotlight review, something I haven't done in a very long while. But this was a particular film I really wanted to do a Spotlight review of because it's just a great film, a great B film, I should say that. Pretty much my favorite Albert Pyun flick of all time. We are talking about 1992's Nemesis, starring Olivier Gruner, Tim Thomerson, and Deborah Shelton, and Byron James. Great little B action film that never really got a lot of love, but it was a movie I grew up with, and it was a movie I really liked, so I was very happy to see it come out on Blu-ray. So, let's talk about Nemesis for a little bit. Brief plot synopsis, nothing major. Just centers around the character of Alex Rain, who is working for the LAPD, and basically he is out to stop, just a bunch of... Long story short, he's basically trying to stop the cyborgs from taking over humanity, so to speak, but he himself is also part cyborg, because in the beginning of the movie, he's like 86.5% human. Near the end of it, he's barely human anymore after getting, shot up, blown up so many times. But, it's just a really solid B action movie, It's like... it has really good practical effects, and I say practical. Some of the stop-motion animation's pretty bad. There are a couple of scenes where you can tell some scenes are fake, very badly staged, but all in all, for what it is a really good, solid action title in Albert Pyun's library. And, out of Olivier Gruner's films, I haven't seen too many of them. I've seen Angel Town, I've seen Automatic. I still prefer Nemesis to either one of those, because that's probably, his best acting ability right there. So, my history with Nemesis dates all the way back to HBO. I saw it when it first came on a Thursday night. I remembered that because Thursday nights were like their B-movie night. And this is way back in the 90s. Like, every night, or every Thursday night at 8 or 9 o'clock, they showed like a direct-to-TV movie or direct-to-video movie. Now, Nemesis in this case wasn't direct-to-video. It did play in 500 theaters. I don't remember it being in any theaters around me, but, that was way back when. It's been floating around video over the years. I never got a chance to own it other than VHS way back in the day. But then when I got rid of my VHS collection, I kind of forgot about the movie. I really forgot about it for a long while. And then when I started collecting Laserdiscs, I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I need to track down Nemesis. And I'm like, okay. So one of the first things I ended up finding, I actually found a copy local too. But yeah, there is the Laserdisc of Nemesis right there, widescreen edition, shot in 1:7:8 aspect ratio. So yeah, I told you guys in the last video, I'm naturally left-handed, so I'm not right-handed. But yeah, this is a really killer Laserdisc. It actually has a really good solid transfer for its time, and actually has the trailer and a behind-the-scenes special. Another one that I had to track down. Now Kevin Kobos got this for me a while back, and this sucker took me forever to find. This is the Japanese Laserdisc from 1993, 1994 as well. This actually is the director's cut. It has an alternate ending, which we will explain later down the line on this video. But yeah, this is one kick-butt Laserdisc. I love this Laserdisc. I also have part 2 on Laserdisc, but we're going to save that for when I do Nemesis 2, 3, and 4, somewhere down the line. So, what are my thoughts on this Blu-ray? Well, I will tell you right now, I did view both transfers, both the 1:7:8 and the 2:3:5. Now, this was a film, I want to say it was shot, according to IMDb, it was shot 1:8:5. And I am inclined to believe that. The reason I say that is there is a scope presentation on here, but I think that was done because Albert Pyun has always said he wanted to see this movie shot in scope, but I don't think he shot it with an anamorphic lens. So I think the scope version is actually more heavily cropped. What I do think is this was shot open matte, open matte 1:7:8. You do get to see a little more information on top and bottom on the full screen transfer. But that being said, both transfers are actually really, really good. I know they are both minted from the Digidreams transfer that were done in Germany. If I had to pick one, I would say that while I prefer the look of the 1:7:8, I think the 2:3:5 presentation is slightly more detailed. There is better film grain. It just looks a little bit more pleasing. Not saying that the 1:7:8 to 1 transfer looks bad by any means. It just has a tad bit more filtering, and I think the colors are just a tiny bit more muted than on the 2:3:5 to 1. But both transfers are both excellent. They are a severe step up from the original DVD. The sound quality, this was just shot regular stereo. There is a 5.1 mix on here, but it's lossy. I didn't even bother listening to the 5.1 mix. I just listened to it in PCM stereo. Sounds really good on my home theater. Great separation on the left and right channels. Clear audible dialogue. So it's a very solid audio presentation. On the special features front, we have, let's see. So I got to read the back of this, sorry. Some of these I know off the top of my head. You do have the commentaries that are on disc 1. You have 2 separate commentary tracks. And then on disc 2 is where like the meat and potatoes are. Also on disc 1, I forgot, there is Albert Pyun's director's cut release of Nemesis, which is taken from a bad transfer. Again, we'll get to that in a second. Taken from a really bad transfer, like kind of looked like it was just a camera held up to a TV, and all it is a theatrical cut with like some CGI put into it that was done in severe post, and the CGI is pretty terrible, and it's heavily cropped to 2:3:5. So, you know, I would only suggest watching that in with the commentary just to hear what he has to say. Other than that, don't waste your time with that director's cut. But again, on the second disc, you have in standard definition the Japanese director's cut in full screen, and you know, I'm not going to say that's my preferred version of the movie, but it's just really cool to have that version. Also on top of that, you have interviews, TV spots, you know, this, that, everything, and the kitchen frickin' sink. So MVD Visual went all out on this release. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is I'm going to bust out a couple of things here that I have had. Now, when I said I was a fan of this movie, I am a huge fan. So a lot of you, some of you may recognize this, some of you may not. I ended up getting this directly from the man himself, Albert Pyun. That's right, I met Albert Pyun about 6 or 7 years ago. He was in Chicago over, oh God, at one of the theaters out there in Chicago. But he was playing, he had a little film festival. He played Road to Hell. He played Cyborg, the director's cut, which is also known as Slinger. And then he played his Nemesis director's cut. You know, and I actually, not a lot of people showed up. I felt really bad because, like, the funny story is Frank Henenlotter, who directed Basket Case and Brain Damage, all these other great movies, he was down the street, and more people were at that theater to go see Frank Henenlotter than they were Albert Pyun, you know, but I really wanted to meet Albert Pyun because I'm a big Nemesis fan, and I love a lot of his other movies. And the best advantage of that was I actually got to talk to Albert Pyun for like a good 30 minutes. Just me and him, nobody else, you know. And I was asking him about his filmography, and I was asking him about, you know, mainly Nemesis. I told him that is my favorite movie that you've ever done. You know, I think it's a masterpiece. And then he explained to me how, you know, he was locked out of the editing process. Like, he presented his cut, but then they recut it, so it really wasn't his work. I also asked him, well, is there a possibility it's going to get like another DVD or Blu-ray release? He says the rights are too tied up right now. Nobody knows what's going on. Again, this was 6 years ago, but now things have changed, obviously. But again, it was really cool talking to Albert Pyun. So one of the things that ended up happening with this new Blu-ray was, if you're a big fan of this movie like I am, I noticed one small subtle change at the end of it that kind of threw the pacing off just a little bit. Now, on the Japanese version, on the Japanese Laserdisc, when Alex and Max walk up the stairs, you know, walk off into the sunset, so to speak, you see Farnsworth and what you think is Sam coming out and basically saying, shall we get them? And then Farnsworth says, sure, why not? That alludes to a scene that was missing in the theatrical cut when Alex was fighting with the cyborg version of Farnsworth. So, you know, so in the theatrical cut, you assume Farnsworth's dead, he's thrown into the volcano, and then the movie ends with Alex and Max walking off into the sunset. On the new Blu-ray, they walk off into the sunset just like normal, but then out of nowhere, you hear just two voices in the background. You hear the, shall we get him? Why not? I'm like, really? I'm like, really? This is the theatrical cut. And I come to find out that it was a hybrid cut that they had created in Germany, so I'm like, you know what? That kind of threw me off just a little bit too much. Again, speaking as a longtime fan of this movie, that really threw me off. So, I decided to track down the DVD, but luckily enough, I was able to find it dirt freaking cheap. This was at one point in time going for like 50, 60 bucks on DVD. It was very, very hard film to find. But now that the new Blu-ray came out, copies of the DVD are popping up on eBay. seller had this for 10 bucks plus shipping, I jumped on it. And you know what? It may be antiquated by today's standards, and I mean really antiquated, because from what I understand, this is like taken from a VHS master. Again, I've never even seen this on DVD, so but at least I know on that DVD I'm going to get the original ending, because like I said, as much as I love the new transfer, those last two lines of dialogue, they just irk me just a little bit. You know, as like someone who's a hardcore fan of this film, I just didn't like that slight little change. It's not going to bother a lot of people, especially those who are coming into this who have never seen it. But for me, watching it 1993, 94, and we're flashing forward 25 years later, it's a big change. So, but anyway, I still give the Blu-ray my 100% recommendation, especially if you are an Albert Pyun fan, especially if you are a B-movie science fiction fan. By all means, check out this Blu-ray, support MVD. They are a solid label. They are churning out a lot of good stuff. They are getting a lot of good B-movies out there that a lot of people have yet to see. This is actually my first Spotlight review from MVD. These are, in case you don't know, MVD is kind of like Arrow's distributor, at least here in the States. MVD distributes all of Arrow's stuff here in the States. So they decided to start their own little offshoot, and I like this company a lot, so I hope they keep doing what they're doing. But anyway, maybe we'll get another Spotlight review in here sometime in the near future. Maybe I'll figure out something else to do. Maybe I'll do one of Stranger Calls or something like that, see how it compares to the other Blu-ray. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this little Spotlight review, and as always, keep it spinning. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.